Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I'm Daniel.
I'm Chris.
I started a little early there. Wait, so we hear the opening theme in our headsets, and I usually wait for the chord. I think which, by the way, is a C major chord. In case anyone wanted to, know a thing about that.
I'm surprised you didn't make it a B flat so that it would sync with the opening theme to Star Wars.
Well, that's the thing is that cue, or like little opening music there, is from Star Wars.
Oh.
That is from the cue specifically, and I probably shouldn't be saying this because we're definitely using John Williams' music, but
it's okay. We're Disney shills, so they won't sue us.
Right. Yeah, they gave us permission, of course.
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy came to my house and said, "Daniel, you can use this." It is from Star Wars Episode 4. Right after they blow up the Death Stars, they're flying away from it.
Oh yeah.
Now, the reason we don't get copyright hit with it is because I went into a DAW and rewrote it with some good sample instruments, so that it sounds kind of different. What was I saying? Anyway, I came in too early. It doesn't matter. This is our podcast. The Jedi Enclave presents. This is Podcasting Podcast. Of course, I'm Daniel. This is my co-host, Chris.
We already said that.
I know. I just wanted to, just in case anyone forgot.
In the 45 seconds.
As we know, the human population at large is very stupid.
This is true.
Yeah, I make sure everyone's still catching up. This is our weekly podcast about science fiction, Star Wars, nerdy fandom things that we enjoy. And I'm Daniel. This is my co-host, Chris.
How many times are you going to say that?
This is the third. I was doing it for it was a bit. Okay? It was a comedic
right.
bit. Give me a fucking break. By the way, you can all give me a fucking break by following us on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch, Discord, Blue Sky, the thing we're on.
Yeah.
And then today we're talking about Star Wars and some Marvel news. Daredevil. Daredevil had 2 episodes, both of which were really good, and I enjoyed them a lot. You didn't like them?
The first one felt sort of like filler to me. Like, I enjoyed it. I had a good time, but it
Yosef Khan is in.
Yeah, like I love him.
Kamala Khan's dad is in that show.
Yeah, like I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, story-wise, it felt kind of fillery.
It was very Irish.
Yeah, that's true.
Those boys were celebrating St. Patty's Day hard.
They weren't, because they were Protestants.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. That whole thing, by the way, I did a little bit of reading into it because like Belfast is a part of the UK, and they're pretty Protestant.
Yeah, Northern Ireland is it's a whole socio-political thing
they
that
have their own politics.
We really should not get into because we're going to offend somebody.
The gist of it is the Catholic Church is shitty, and so are all other churches, and it drives people to do stupid things.
Sure.
Welcome to humanity. Before we start off, though, Clive Revel, the man who was the original voice of Emperor Palpatine in Empire Strikes Back, before the special editions and the CGI Ian McDermott, and back when Palpatine
was just a face and a hologram. It was actually a composite of like 3 different things.
It was a woman, some random woman, I can't remember her name,
with like cat's eyes.
No, monkey's eyes.
Yeah,
monkey's eyes. Anyway, he played the voice of the first ever Emperor Palpatine. And I, of course, knew him from that, but the thing that I heard his voice in over and over again as a child was Batman the Animated Series, which he voiced Alfred.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes, and that was a voice I heard a lot because I watched that show a lot. So the dude he lived a pretty long life, had a storied career as a voice actor and everything. So, Godspeed. May the Force be with you, sir. Into the great beyond. So you want to talk about this Star Wars Victory thing?
Sure.
What do you know about it?
It's some VR bullshit.
Yes, it is. It does appear to be some. Okay, so you know how I ordinarily I'll read these articles, and then I'll generally have ChatGPT give me like a quick rundown of it.
Yeah.
I didn't do any of that today.
Okay.
So I know that this is, as you said, some
VR bullshit.
Some VR bullshit, specifically from Meta. And as we all know, Meta's doing great these days, and they have no problems whatsoever as a company.
None at all.
Yeah.
But apparently it's a story following like Sebulba and a new original character. Like,
what's his name? With the wrench.
Yeah, sure.
This guy. He looks like he's the same. Looks like he's the same alien species as the dude Oh, he's nice. He's got 4 arms though.
Yeah.
Because Star Wars Resistance has a guy that looks kind of like this, but he's green. And now I'm just feeling a little space racist.
A little bit, yeah.
But yeah, Sebulba and some other guy with a wrench.
Anyway, apparently it's gonna be like they'll have a booth for it at Star Wars Celebration Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So if you happen to be in Japan when Star Wars Celebration is happening and you want to get a special sneak preview, some VR bullshit about Sebulba, head on down.
You want to go to Japan? When is it? Like
April 18th to 20th, which is right before Andor starts.
Alexa, how much money does it cost to fly to Japan? That's probably one way.
Probably. Yeah.
So for us, it'd be like $6,000 in airfare, and then we have to stay. So we're not doing that.
Japan is surprisingly cheap because their currency is very weak relative to the dollar.
Well, it was. I mean, our currency is pretty weak now too, though, right?
Yeah. Anyway.
Yay, tariffs. So yeah, Meta's doing a thing. It's going to be
ILM is doing like most of the thing. I think Meta is just sort of publishing / promoting it.
So they did a VR Vader game quite a long time ago, and it was actually pretty cool. Like I watched gameplay from it, and obviously it isn't the same as experiencing it in VR or anything. But the story was kind of cool, and you go up against Vader a couple times, and you get to wield the lightsaber and shit. And however, I can't say that I am that interested about what Sebulba's up to these days.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're like, this is the character you're allowed to fuck with for a VR thing.
Yeah, I mean, Sebulba was just kind of a bit player jackass in episode 1.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Marvel?
Yeah, that's the thing that's coming soon. Yeah. So I didn't hear about some of this shit until like today.
Yeah.
Because I've been following some Marvel stuff. First of all,
because let's see, Thunderbolts is their next big thing.
Yeah, and that's coming out in May. Yeah. I think, which we'll probably go see. Yeah. Because it actually looks kind of fun.
It looks funny. Yeah. Like I'm not expecting great things or anything, but it looks fun.
We have to admit that the MCU, quality wise, the last couple of years has been all over the fucking place.
Pretty much since Endgame. Right?
Yeah. And I get it. After Endgame, how do you, like after Infinity War and Endgame,
there's multiple things going on. Number one, they reached a narrative like end of an era.
Yes.
Number two, Endgame and Infinity War made so much fucking money that the producers and higher ups probably felt fucking invincible, like they could
do anything.
Yeah, they could slap the MCU into anything and it'll print money.
Yeah.
And when you have those two competing forces, and also like some of your biggest actors, like contracts were up, like Robert Downey Jr. for
very
instance.
Very expensive.
Yes.
By the way, like Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., probably Mark Ruffalo, even those guys make tons of money when they do anything. Like Tony Stark shows up in an MCU project that probably made him like $10 million, right? Even like in Spider-Man, where he shows up for like 5 seconds, $10 million a man gets. So like, yeah, it's a lot of money.
Anyway, and because of those pressures, the quality has been here and there.
Yeah. Also, like, there's been other weird shit too, like COVID happened after Endgame.
COVID just fucked with everything.
Yeah.
Writers and actors strikes.
Yeah. And plus, like, that's right around when they got the volume up and running. So they're like, guys, we don't have to pay anymore to go on location. We can just do everything in this 10 by 10 room and it'll look real.
Rather than, shipping everybody out to Vancouver to film everything on location, let's just do it in the volume.
We'll put some pictures of Vancouver up on our LCD screens.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's like we're really there.
Yeah. As it turns out, the volume doesn't exactly work like that, and it isn't as
it can do some things.
Yeah. Some things very well, by the way. Like, for example, most of the Matt Reeves' The Batman, almost all of that is shot on the volume, and it looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Most of The Mandalorian is, and some of it is shitty.
Looks good. Some of it not so much.
The stuff in The Mandalorian that looks really good, I feel, is like that first season of those, like when they're outside on like Tatooine. I think they're on Tatooine at one point and shit. Like that. Like the volumes are really good for shit like that. It's not very good for other things, and I feel like they hadn't quite learned yet what to do and stuff. And okay, none of this matters. Yes. The whole point of us talking about this is the fact that apparently a thing that's coming up is
Avengers Doomsday, which is probably
5 years off.
It's closer than that, probably like a year and a half.
Really?
I'm sure there's an actual release date somewhere for it.
Okay, well you go on while I look this up.
Okay,
because I have a feeling it's
Marvel put out this little 90-second teaser trailer. It's not really a teaser at all. It's just this long scrolling list of those like Hollywood director chairs with actor names on it. I'm not going to go all the way through the list because it's really long. I'm just going to pull out some highlights.
Oh, it is about a year.
Yeah,
May 1st, 2026. Okay.
So they've got all 4 of the Fantastic Four, which is another movie that's coming out relatively soon.
Right. Which we would expect to see those guys in an upcoming Avengers thing, since they're
in a Doctor Doom focused one specifically, because Doctor Doom was originally a Fantastic Four villain.
Right.
Of course, there's Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan. Got to have Cap and Bucky in an Avengers thing. Right. The thing that leaped off the page at me was how many X-Men actors are in this.
Yeah, this.
So starting with Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
They brought back the Nightcrawler actor,
Alan Cumming,
Mystique,
Rebecca Romaine.
Yep. James Marsden as Cyclops.
Right. He's in a show. He's in a random show that I've kind of been watching off and on a little bit called. I do not remember what it's called, but it's really strange and it's a murder mystery. And if I literally say any more than that, it'll spoil everything. And it's one of those shows. And I've been like mostly interested in it, but then not so much. Anyway,
Kelsey Grammer reprising his role as Beast.
Yeah.
And my personal favorite, Channing Tatum as Gambit.
He's going to make a name out of himself.
Who did not actually play the character prior to being in the Deadpool movie. He was
one of those fan casts that people are like, I also wasn't. He was going to be.
I think he was attached to a Gambit project at some point, but that never got off the ground.
And they did what's his name instead that ended up playing David Koresh in that David Koresh show biopic thing.
Okay.
With the Branch Davidians and
also some other names. Pretty much everyone of the main cast of Thunderbolts is on here. They didn't list the Taskmaster actor, but that character also didn't feature in the most recent Thunderbolts trailer.
That's because they're gonna die.
She is so fucking dead.
Yeah.
So Letitia Wright reprising her role as Shuri / the new Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
Tena Huerta Mejia, I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing that, as Namor, again from the new Black Panther.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah. And also Winston Duke as M'Baku from Black Panther.
Okay.
The big guy wearing the fur all the time. Yeah.
That's going to be pretty cool. Yeah. I noticed that Brie Larson wasn't on there as Captain Marvel.
No.
Which...
I mean, presumably she's still out in space doing space shit.
Right. And it's like, I'm sure I don't know, Marvel's did okay. It obviously didn't do as well as Captain Marvel, which made over $1 billion, by the way. So maybe there's a reason for that on the corporate side, but also on the narrative side, you kind of have to keep Captain Marvel out of shit. Unless you need,
because she's way too powerful for most things.
Like if you want to blow a planet up, then you bring Captain Marvel in, right?
Or fix a planet, as happened.
Depends on what mood she's in. Yeah, the Annihilator.
Yeah,
what a great nickname.
One last name that's on this list: Simu Liu. I'm probably mispronouncing that as Shang-Chi.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
He was in that one movie, and it seemed like they were setting him up for really big things. Yes. And then he was in 2 What If episodes, and that's it.
Yeah, and you know what? I liked that movie.
Yeah,
I thought that was a pretty cool movie. So I'm excited to see him again, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and of course Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom, which is an extremely weird casting for the MCU, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because Robert Downey Jr. is really good.
It is very bizarre what they're doing with that, and I bet because that this was supposed to be a Kang the Conqueror story, but then Jonathan Majors turned out to be a piece of shit. And then they're
my guess is that this is a variant Tony Stark. Maybe?
Or just a variant of Doomsday, right? or maybe
Dr.
both of
Doom.
them. Or right, yeah.
Who knows?
I think that they were like, okay, we can't have Jonathan Majors. What is the weirdest out there thing we could do to get everyone to stop talking about Kang? We'll make Iron Man and Dr. Doom. Yeah, we'll make them both the same person. Which is funny because with how they set up the multiverse, they could have just recast Kang.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have even been weird.
It probably would have had like a one-liner where Loki's like,
you look different.
Yeah, you look different. Yeah. And Kang's like, hey, that's the multiverse, baby. And then they just roll on and no one would care.
Or they do what happened. So Terrence Howard, by the way, who is insane, a narcissist, a gigantic human piece of shit, and should probably be in jail, was Rhodey. And then he was recast because he asked for a ton of money after that. And they're like, no, you're not the star of this movie.
You are not the Doctor on DS9. We can't just give you unlimited money to have you in our stuff.
And also, you are an average actor at best. So no. And he's like, well, fuck you.
Don
guys.
Cheadle.
Yeah. They're like, you can find someone else. And they're like, oh, we have Don Cheadle. Oh, well, shit. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So
that's fair.
There's that scene in Iron Man 2, right at the beginning of the movie, Don Cheadle's first appearance as Rhodey, where he walks up to Tony and he says, I'm here. Let's deal with it. or just deal with it or something.
They do a very similar thing when they recast Harrison Ford into the new Captain America movie.
About the mustache?
Yeah. He said shave the mustache or lose the election.
Yeah. So they could do a thing where like Kang shows up and he's like, I'm here, deal with it.
They could have, but they're very clearly doing something else. And okay.
I saw a really funny thing about having Terrence Howard play Kang. Which I think it would have been really funny.
It would have been funny.
But then Terrence Howard...
not the best idea.
Then Terrence Howard would have gotten... And I'm serious. Look, I know this is a bit of a tangent, and a lot of people aren't in on this, but Terrence Howard really is this insane mega narcissist who believes... And like what I'm about to say is going to sound like, oh, you're being kind of hyperbolic, and it's not. He believes he is the most intelligent man in the world, and has discovered these huge things in physics and mathematics.
Both those claims are provably false, but go on.
Yes, and he's like, guys, I have this revolutionary thing about mathematics that's going to change everything. And they're like, okay, Terrence Howard, what is it? And he's like, you know how we can all agree that 1 = 1? And everyone's like, yeah? He's like, well, 1 doesn't equal 1. And I'm not kidding. This is his big idea in mathematics. He's like, 1 doesn't equal 1.
Okay, present your proof.
Yeah, and he's like, and runs away. And like so many people in the fields of physics and mathematics have tried to sit Terrence Howard down. He was on Joe Rogan, by the way, and just made an ass of himself.
As most people on Joe Rogan do.
Yeah. Have tried to explain to him, Terrence, you're a dumbass. This is why we know what we know about physics and math, and this is why what you think about different geometric shapes and shit, because he'll be like, oh, I've gotten like 300 patents. And it's like, first of all, no, you haven't. And second of all, like the 2 or 3 patents you have are on these like cool little shapes that you think are cool, and you patented them. They have literally no impact on mathematics or physics. It's just they're kind of neat to look at. Okay. Not as fun to look at as like a tesseract or fractals or anything. Yeah. It is mildly, just for a second, entertaining to look at. You're like, oh, okay. What a weird shape. Next, right?
Yeah.
And he thinks he is like convinced that he is like present day Albert Einstein. Like he's gonna blow it wide open any second, right? So if you guys want to, there's a YouTube personality and scientist and teacher. He's really great. It's called Dr. Dave. Has a really popular YouTube channel where he goes into a couple of these things with Terrence Howard, and it is certifiably insane. So anyway, X-Men are coming to Doomsday. Avengers Doomsday.
My concern is that like all those X-Men actors are way older than they were when they played the characters. Because like some of them haven't played those characters in like a decade or two.
Okay, counterpoint. Patrick Stewart hasn't aged a day since TNG.
Sure.
So.
Like I'm not so concerned about like Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen.
Ian McKellen's looking pretty old.
It's like what's his name?
James Marsden. Yeah. Actually, in that show that I was just talking about, he looks pretty good. Because he was also in the first and second season of Westworld a while ago, and he doesn't look that different than he did then. So
I mean, I'm just thinking it's going to end up being a Hayden Christensen in the latter day Star Wars shows situation.
where they try to de-age him and they're like
either that or like it's the flashback part of Ahsoka where it's like, you know, he's still
Hayden Christensen is a very good-looking man. Right,
he's just recognizably
right.
older.
He's not 19 anymore.
Yeah.
Or 20 or however the fuck old he was. Yeah. No, I get you. And you know what? That's fine. I think James Marsden will be fine as Cyclops.
I'm not concerned about his performance. It's purely the aesthetics.
Yes, I'm saying when we do Battlefront, maybe I'll pull up some pictures of him from this show it's brand new that I've been watching. He does still look fantastic. So who knows?
Anyway, Marvel, if you're doing anything with X-Men characters past this point, please recast. Like it's okay. You did it once. It worked out great.
Yeah, and they were good.
Yeah,
like the recasts were really good.
Like McAvoy,
James McAvoy.
James McAvoy.
Right.
He was fantastic.
Yes,
the guy that got to play Magneto, fantastic.
Oh, what is his name? Yeah, he is also really good. Fassbender.
Yeah. Michael Fassbender.
Right. Yeah. I think Rebecca. I think Romaine still played. No, she didn't. No, she didn't.
No, that was a different.
It was someone else. Yeah.
Anyway, please recast. Like. You can pick up that gives you an opportunity to pick up entirely new characters, and God knows there are a shit ton of X-Men you can choose from.
Right. And then we can finally, for the love of God, cast Jack Black as Professor X. The moment I've been waiting for my entire life. Jack Black, Professor X.
That would be a different take on Professor X.
Yes. Some artistic license.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about something that all Star Wars fans agree about across the board and never argue about? Star Wars: The Acolyte.
Oh yes.
So as it turns out,
there is no disagreement about this show,
and I'm going to try to deliver this with a little bit of editorial free. Okay.
Speak your truth.
The problem is that I feel like I have to preface it with the fact that there are people out there where it does not matter what raw data you show them. The narrative in their head is that this show was a failed show, no one wanted it, and that's the end. And
fuck them, they don't live in reality,
right? And it's like you walk into a grocery store with someone and you point at a banana and you say that's a banana, and they say no, fuck you, that's a lemon, and you're just like,
no,
okay. What the fuck ever, right?
And then they take a dump in the middle of the aisle,
right? And they're like, and I won the argument. They run up, and the earth is flat. It's just like. So it turns out that Star Wars: The Acolyte might not have been the raging, stinking bomb that the bros on social media would have liked you to believe. In fact, Parrot Analytics, which is a
from what we can tell, a reasonably reliable source.
I would say like a very reliable source based on what I read. They get into IP analytics and streaming analytics and stuff.
Which, first of all, streaming analytics are extremely fucked because everyone judges them different ways and presents their information in different ways.
Yes.
And
it's
all for the investors anyway.
I do plan to do a little bit more of a deep dive into Parrot Analytics to see what their methodology is for reaching these numbers. But from what I can tell, they have a methodology, which is more than just trust me, bro, kind of a thing. It turns out that Star Wars: The Acolyte scored more than 20 times the average demand in the current streaming landscape, which is
compared to what? 20 times compared to what?
The average.
Okay.
Like you have a show that watched around the same rate as most other shows, which would be average, and then you have The Acolyte, which is 20 times that.
And how does that compare to the other Star Wars projects?
I don't think any of them were 20 times. I'm not sure they give that information. I mean, you could probably go and look them up individually, I bet.
Yeah.
But I would guess that probably not as many of them get 20 times more than average. Interesting thing to look into, though.
Yeah.
So this kind of confirms a little bit of what I already believed, which is why I'm already skeptical of it, because
yeah,
you don't want to get into a trap where you're looking for information that confirms what you already believe.
That's confirmation bias.
Right. You just want data, right? So this is one of the reasons I'm putting a pin in this. I want to look into it a little bit later. Because if their methodology is fucked, then it's like this may or may not be true, and whatever. But it seems like they actually are pretty legit. People on the internet love to point out their belief that Star Wars: The Acolyte was canceled, and I would like to point out to everyone, it was not. In fact, Disney, most streaming services that own IPs, not just Disney, like Netflix or whoever, it is only bad press for your IP for you to announce that something's being canceled, right? That's bad news. And so what most people do is they just don't renew it for another season.
They order one season,
right?
They say, "All right, let's make this up," and at the end, if it does well, they call up the showrunners and say, "Hey, let's do another season."
Do another one, right? And some shows, the owners of the IP know that what they've got, and they announce the second season before the first even.
Andor is the shining example of this, because like a month or two before anybody saw the first episode, Disney renewed it for season 2, and like you and I were like, "Damn, holy shit, they must really believe in this." Yes.
Now, they did not do that for Acolyte. They didn't renew it before the first season.
They didn't renew it at all.
Right. And they didn't announce afterwards that they were doing a second season. Mm-hmm. Now, there are plenty of there are examples of this in streaming services where they don't announce immediately that they're doing a second season, but after the public has after the fan base has lived with it for a little bit, they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll do a second season." A good example of that is Ahsoka, where they did not announce a second season before the show aired, and they didn't even announce a second season directly after it finished, but they're like, "Oh, all right, some people liked this."
I feel like that's a slightly different case, because reading between the lines, it seems like editorial plans changed at Lucasfilm.
With the story, you mean?
Yeah, because Mandalorian and Grogu was supposed to wrap up a whole bunch of different plot threads.
No, you're right.
Including Thrawn. And that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Like last week, we talked about how this movie has like $155 million budget,
160,
yeah, which is really, really small.
Yeah.
So what my personal belief is, just based on reading between the lines here, is that was originally supposed to be wrapping everything up, and there'd be no need for a second season of Ahsoka. Mm. But then plans changed, and now there's room for a second season of Ahsoka that possibly is what resolves the whole Thrawn thing.
I got my hunch is that they were like, you know what, people got real excited over the Anakin Skywalker thing and the Thrawn thing, that maybe we figure out how to do a second season of Ahsoka, which impacted the Mandalorian and Grogu. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying though is that there are examples of a show that that wasn't necessarily announced for a second season that ended up getting one anyway. Yeah. And it very well could be that Star Wars: The Acolyte might be like Lucasfilm might be eyeing it like they're like, damn, okay, 20 times higher demand than usual. Maybe we don't necessarily do like Acolyte season 2. Because I'll admit, like, we weren't on the hate train for Acolyte. I think I sufficiently enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. But I did not love the main character, May and Osha. I didn't really like them very much. Like, I was showing up every week, every week.
You're showing up for Lee Jung-jae.
Yeah, and Manny Jacinto, right? Yeah. So maybe they say, "Oh, we are getting into this Darth Plagueis Sith thing. And so we are going to spin off into a different show that has those characters that is during the same time period, but May and Osha are off doing other shit. You know, I don't know. They live happily ever after. Yord is still dead, unfortunately, but the galaxy goes on, and here's some Sith stories with fucking Vernestra Rowe and her lightsaber whip and shit. Like, you know, that's something that could happen, and I hope they do, because Star Wars very badly needs to get away from this. We need to, like, they're like, guys, every fucking story we tell has to happen between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Or where it's like right before episode 4.
Yeah. They need to get out of the box of episode 1 to episode 9.
Right. Yeah. Because you know what we care about when a story is around that time period? It's either we want something more with Anakin or we want something more with Luke. Right. Mm-hmm. And then we don't get that. And then we're like, oh, that sucks.
Well, shit. What was even the point?
So that's why having a story that took place like, you know, 100 or 150 years or whatever before episode 1, like all new characters, all new circumstances, the political landscape of the Star Wars universe is way different. That's fun shit. And you know what? With so many people right now that are still playing Star Wars The Old Republic, like, you don't think there's a market out there for like an old Republic story?
That's like the 2 Star Wars announced and not yet canceled Star Wars projects I'm most excited for.
The James Mangold one? Yeah.
That one and the Rey movie.
Right.
Those are the 2 I'm most excited of, because I want to get outside.
They are further away from that. Yeah. No, I agree. All right, we got to move on a little bit. Tell us what you think in the comments about all of that, and if you're just here to shit on Acolyte, I don't give a fuck. Keep it to yourself. Or you know what? Put it in the comments anyway. It's good for engagement. I'll just look at you and laugh.
Yeah.
So
it's Daredevil time.
Yes, it is. And you know what?
We haven't been talking about this as much as we should, because there
really
was
bad.
Severance and Invincible going on.
Right. And Severance was not something I was going to miss because like I've been enjoying Daredevil quite a lot actually. But it is not Severance. And so I have no regrets about putting so much emphasis on Severance, because it is one of those like once every 10 years shows or
once every 3 years that we get a season.
right but like where you don't have a quality show like this and it just kind of comes out of nowhere and it kind of grips everyone. And it's not that, but you know what, fucking Charlie, what's his name, who plays Matt Murdock,
Charlie Cox, is
really great. I really like him, and I enjoy this story, and I enjoy some of the poetry that they're doing with it that really came out, particularly in episode 6. But anyway, there are two episodes, episode 5 and 6. The first one was With Interest, which starts right out the bat with a St. Patty's Day bank heist.
Yes.
And that's pretty much the whole episode.
Pretty much, yeah.
So
like Matt Murdock is going around to banks trying to get someone to give a loan to his law firm,
right? And so the problem is that they want to help the underdog, and so like a lot of the cases they do are pro bono, and so like their cash inflow isn't very much. So all the banks are like, dude, you need to make money at your business. Like, why would we give you a loan if you give everyone free service, right? And so he goes to I don't know,
New York Mutual
or something.
Yeah.
And he has an appointment with the bank manager, but he had explosive diarrhea or something that morning.
And who should be there but fucking Yusuf Khan?
It's Yusuf Khan from fucking... I liked Miss Marvel as a show. I agree that some of the story shit gets fucked toward the end of that, and they kind of lose me. But the actor that plays Kamala Khan is brilliant, and I loved her in the Marvels.
Also, her entire family.
Yeah, I know.
Fantastic.
Yes. Like, we see this guy, and I was like, oh yeah, there was that episode in Miss Marvel where he tried to dress up like the Hulk with green body paint and everything. And it's like, he is a precious man. He must be protected. But we know that he's a banker because in the Marvels, he's giving financial advice to one of the sword guys, right? And he's like, "Oh, you got to do like an RA mutual, blah, 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 blah." And that guy's sitting there listening, like taking notes, like, "God damn."
Yeah.
So he shows Matt Murdock, even though he's blind as a fucking bat, shows him
fucking Funko Pop of Miss Marvel,
right? Which of course Funko Pop's like, "Oh, we are paying into this hard." Mm-hmm. In fact, he talks about Miss Marvel quite a lot. At which point, I'm waiting for Matt Murdock to be like, she's your daughter, and she like you will not stop talking about Miss Marvel. So he gives him Matt gives like a pitch for the loan. In my notes I have Matt gives the pitch for the load, and that is way more dirty.
Giggity.
That's not what I meant.
Yusuf was like, yeah, like it's great.
Yeah,
it's fantastic work.
Yeah.
I really believe in your mission.
Yeah, you're one of the good guys.
But we can't bankroll you.
Yeah, he's like, I'm sorry, I have a job, and if I gave you a loan, they would fire me. So. Thankfully for everyone here, the bank isn't about to get robbed. You're not about to save my life and create this situation where there's a conflict of interest.
Yep. Have a nice day.
Goodbye. And so
Matt Murdock walks out, and who should show up in the alleyway but 5 rowdy Irish boys?
The Irish boys, yeah. They gear up. They all put their different
colored ski masks on. They grab their assault rifles.
Someone pointed out that they are all the colors of the Infinity Stones, -1, because I think they only have 6 guys on the crew, and there are 5 guys on the crew. Right. And I don't know if that's just because...
I think they're just convenient primary colors.
Yeah.
It could very well be an Easter egg, but I didn't I'm not super observant about these things, and I didn't notice it in the moment.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. So they start the heist. Matt, who is already on his way out, is because he's got like his super fucking hearing.
So like he's on the phone with his partner saying, we didn't get the loan, and I'm kind of sucks.
He's like, hold on.
I'll be right there. Hold on.
I hear some very aggressive Irish accents. I need to go back to the bank. I think they might be getting robbed.
Also call the cops.
Yeah, call the cops. So he gets back in right as they're like closing the doors and shit, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm blind. I don't know what I'm doing." And I noticed a detail where he's listening to the heartbeats of everyone. Yep, because that's the thing he does. And like a bunch of guys, like everyone's heart's going crazy because it's a fucking big heist. Yeah. And then it gets to the one lady who's one of the hostages, and her heartbeat is like dead normal. And I think he figured out that he's like, "Oh, we better keep an eye on this bitch over here because she's not freaking out." So Matt speaks up and is kind of a smart ass to a bunch of armed robbers, which, of course he is.
Maybe not the best idea.
You know what? You know that he's going to get in there and be as much of an asshole as he can, right? Because he's sitting there thinking, there are 5 of these motherfuckers. I bet I could kill all of them before, but someone might get hurt. Yeah. So you know what?
So let's do this a little tactically.
Right. So, like they hit him with the fucking, he's like, "Shut up, blind guy." And he's like, "That's a little rude." But okay. So
also they keep calling him solicitor.
Right. Because they're Irish.
European thing.
Right. Yeah. So he goes and hangs out with Yusuf, and he's like, "I'm back." And he's like, "Why? Why did you come back?
What did you do? Why?
I told you to go away."
And they're like, "Okay, we need to get into the vault. Where's the bank manager?"
And he's like, "Sir, he's home with explosive diarrhea this morning." And he's like,
"All right, who the fuck are you?" And Yusuf's like, "I'm the assistant bank manager."
So you can open the vault?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
And so Matt Murdock is like, "You don't know how to open the vault, do you?" And he's like, "I fucking do not."
Nope.
You know what? I panicked. And he's like, "Why would you panic in that way?"
All right. Fine.
So he's like, "So do we like tell them the truth?" And he's like, "They won't believe you. They'll just think you're bluffing and shit. So when they take you down there to open the vault, do me a favor and stall for us. Do whatever the fuck you need to do. Stall as long as you can." And Yusuf's like, "Why? What are you gonna do?" So the NYPD hostage girl shows Detective somebody shows up.
Detective Kim.
Sorry, I'm very bad with names. So she shows up and she talks to the head Irish guy whose name's Devlin, I think. And he's like, "Listen, first of all, they had some like witty back and forth. Yeah. Like he's very clearly, he's not freaking out about it. He's kind of like in control of the situation. He's very charming.
Because this is a whole scheme with the gangs that are working for Fisk.
Well, Fisk's
formerly worked for Fisk.
Right. Yeah. So he's like, "I want a couple of APCs," I think that's what he says.
Something like that, yeah.
And the commentary here should be, why do the cops have APCs? Like, why do they have vehicles that are meant to be in a war zone?
Because the police in America are an occupying army.
Yes. And so thank you for nailing that right in the head. So the detective's like, "You know what? Fine.
We can do this.
Yeah.
You gotta give me a show of good faith. Like, let 2 of the hostages.
2 hostages. And they're going to pick Matt And Matt's like, you can't let me go. I'm blind. And they're like, what the fuck?
What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
That's a reason you should go.
Yeah.
And he's like, well,
they happen to have like 2 newlyweds in there, and he's like, just fucking let them go.
It's like, you can't let me go. That would be a lower prejudice against the visually impaired. So they let the woman and her husband go. And they take Yosef down to the vault, and he stalls.
And Matt's like, hey, I have to go pee.
Yeah.
Unless you want me to just
go right here.
Shit my pants right here.
Yeah.
They're like, fine.
Yeah.
Here, blue guy.
By the way,
to the bathroom.
He's kind of milked the being blind thing. And I think it's for this moment where when he asks for something, they're like, shit, we can't say no. He's fucking blind. And he's like, exactly. You're falling right into my trap. So
I don't know why they don't take him to the bathroom on the first floor, but they like take him.
They're like, take him down. Take him down the staircase and send only one person with him. You know. So Mr. Red, the guy in the red mask, takes him. He gets the shit beat out of him. Which, by the way, they have this really cool setting of the music, like the main theme, as he's like walking down the stairs, and then it just cuts out. And then Matt just goes fucking berserker on him, right? But he's doing it like really quietly. Yeah. And there's this really great shot where like there's a shotgun.
His gun is like perched on the edge of a stair, and it's about to fall off.
And he throws himself down and catches it.
While he's still choking out the other guy with his tie.
This is right around where I've noticed, like, that's why I've been really enjoying this series so far.
Because not every fight happens in a hallway.
That, but also, I think I want Matt Murdock to fight me. Because he's got some moves, and he's a very handsome man, and he looks slick as fuck when he does stuff like this. And like,
okay, fair enough.
You could beat me with your whip things. I'd be okay with that. So
he gets down to the vault where Yusuf is like trying desperately to like do the whole tour guide thing. Like,
he is.
We made this bank in 18 whatever.
We built
and
this
the vault
city.
was built first, and we built this city on rock and roll. And fucking Matt Murdock shows up and then beats the shit out of the blue guy. He's like, okay.
There's a really great shout out, by the way, where so they get into the vault. He uses his super hearing, and
Yusuf's like, how the fuck did you do that?
Yeah, and
what kind of lawyer are you? He's like, a good one.
Yeah, he answers a very good one, which is a Spider-Man shout out, because when he goes to represent Peter Parker in the whichever one is the one with Willem Dafoe, when he catches the brick that comes through the window, he says something very similar. So we're not going to go into this, but if you want to know more about it, you need to watch the episode. There's a really funny joke with Detective Kim telling a joke about fucking a Catholic penguin. And if you're like, what are you talking about? Just go watch it. It's actually really funny. So they get into the vault. They get into a safety deposit box. They find the one that they're looking for, and there's a big chunky,
big old diamond.
Yeah. Which a bunch of people pointed out is the color that was missing from the masks of the Infinity Stone. And it looked a lot like the Mind Stone.
A little bit like an Infinity Stone, yeah.
Which it wouldn't make sense anyway, because all those, like, Thanos destroyed all those, I destroyed the stones with the stones.
Who knows?
Yep. So
they go back upstairs.
All right. So there's this cliche conflict in every show or movie with cops where the negotiator wants to keep talking, but the SWAT guy is like, I'm going in. And they're like, you can't, innocent people. And so the SWAT guy gets his way.
We're going in.
Yeah. And so
in 15 seconds or whatever.
Right. And Matt can hear, he's like, oh shit, the SWAT team's going to be in here. And so they do this thing where he's like, I got your fucking diamond. And they're like, give it. And he's like, okay, catch. Because he's like they're about to bust in with their flashbangs and shit.
Like, he knows they don't have time.
Right.
So he's just like, all right, here.
He tosses it to him, which is still in the little draw sack thing. And Devlin, in the chaos, switches into a cop uniform, and he gives the diamond to the woman that none of us trusted at the beginning, and is like, give this to Luca. And then
and he walks out.
Yeah. And then I like how Matt's like, no. And he has that red mask that he got from the other guy, and he just follows him to somewhere else. And then Chris
beats the shit out of him.
The beat down on this man is so unfair.
Breaks his leg at the end in the most gruesome way you can imagine.
That was, by the way, after he slams his face into a broken beer bottle.
Oh, God,
and he's got shards of glass sticking out of his face.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that works really well. Daredevil Born Again is rated TVMA. This is the reason why. And they can, aside from dropping the F-bomb all over the place, the action is extraordinarily gruesome and violent and a lot of fun to watch. And watching Matt Murdock just lose his shit and just like, because he's trying to be, he's like, I'm a peaceful man now. I work within the system. I improve the system. And he's like, I'm going to beat that man's ass. So anyway, there is no diamond in the pouch. It's just a butterscotch candy. Matt gets an invite from the Khan family to dinner.
Yep.
And then some financial advice.
He slips the diamond back into Yusuf's candy dish.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the episode Excessive Force.
Yes.
It opens with some more news position. Basically, none of us are safe. We need a protector.
Yes.
There is a video of a sword-wielding vigilante who we know as Jack Duquesne from fucking Hawkeye.
Jack Black. Or no, Jon Snow. I'm sorry. That was very weird.
But neither of those are correct.
Really?
What do you mean Jon Snow?
Because Kit Harington was in Eternals, I think.
Yes.
He was a guy with a sword.
Not that guy.
Oh, okay.
It's played by...
yeah, now I remember.
The guy from Hawkeye.
Yeah. Because that actor is also, like...
in this episode, yes. Yeah. And that's why. Played by Tony Dalton, by the way, he plays this phenomenal character in the show... Better Call Saul, which is a spinoff of Breaking Bad, called Wallow. This actor, he's phenomenal, and we don't see him enough in other stuff. But he's so good. So anyway, he's out there with his fucking Antonio Banderas looking like, Zorro, and he's like fighting people with a fucking, it's like a fencing foil. And he's like, and like, I like the guy's got a video of it on his phone. He's like, listen up, cops. This is how you do your job. And basically the whole thing is none of us are safe. We need vigilantes and shit. So a city worker finds a body of a victim.
Well, they found murals.
Right. All over the city.
Graffiti,
like tons of
they're
murals.
trying to clean it off, but they can't.
Well, not yet, because they find a victim at the town dump of one of Muse's victims. And after that, the city sanitation guy, who is one of the hostages.
Yeah, he was the guy who liked hockey.
Right, yeah. That dude would not shut the fuck up about hockey. So all these murals, we don't have enough time to talk about it, but all the murals are very interesting because they're very anti-Fisk and like anti-corporate.
And also painted in blood, which apparently makes them impossible to wash off.
Right.
Which I don't know that the chemistry of that works out exactly, but...
Well, the chemistry of it would be that blood oxidizes and would cease to be red and would turn brown. So it wouldn't be red the whole time anyway. And I'm sure actually with the pressure washer it would come off just fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So Matt does a little prayer with his foggy card. And he's like, oh, I'm trying so hard not to lose my shit all the time. And he's like...
And his girlfriend is there and is like, hey, I got this meeting with my editor who wants me to write another book about vigilantes.
Vigilantes, right.
And like, some vigilantes. Like, can you give me some interviews with like Punisher or
Frank
Daredevil?
Castle? Yeah, I like how he was like, what? You do not want to talk to Frank Castle.
I don't think Frank Castle wants to talk to Frank Castle.
I just spoke to him yesterday and it was a fucking chore. Okay. Which, by the way, you might notice the guy who plays Frank Castle was in The Bear. As
he was the older brother,
right? Yes, also another phenomenal actor. So Luca meets up with Fisk, and he's being very bold and very brash.
Take your 1.8 million and shove it up your ass.
I have not loved Chiklis's performance as Fisk because he does this weird vocal fry thing where he's trying to make his voice like way lower than it actually is. However, you cannot deny, and he's a good actor. Like this is a personal preference about like a thing he's doing with his voice. He's still a really good actor. I love how he's looking at this guy and his face twitches. Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, I could break this man in half."
He does other things like when there are wider shots of Fisk, you can see like his fingers are twitching.
He's constantly holding it in. Yeah. So he leaves. Fisk is like, well, fuck it. It's not going to be 1.8. It's going to be 2.8 million. He's like, well, fuck you. And goes home. And he's like, well, when you present an argument like that, I suppose. So the sanitation guy shows up. They talk about the blood thing. And they're like, so hold on a second. There are a lot of fucking murals out there. So his victims, he has to have like more than 60 victims.
He's killed at least 60 people.
So Angela Del Toro, who is the niece of White Tiger, shows up to see Matt. She's like, my uncle was onto something. And Matt's like, I can't do anything. I'm working in the system. I'm trying to fix it.
Fuck you. Yeah. I'm going to keep skipping class to go do something about this.
Me, a 14-year-old girl who weighs perhaps 90 pounds, will go on my own and figure it out myself. And he's like, that's a terrible idea. And she's like,
well, you're not doing anything about it, so somebody's got to.
Right. So Fisk meets with the cops, and he decides they're not gonna sound the alarm about Muse, so he doesn't run underground. Muse,
instead, he's going to assemble a special task force of the worst cops on the force.
Yeah, it's like
just the biggest pieces of shit he can find.
It's the thin blue line guys, right?
It's all the guys with the Punisher tattoos.
Right. Yep.
It's all the guys who put the fucking Punisher stickers with the thin blue line on the back of their fucking SUVs.
Right. Yeah. So Muse kills a couple girls. Fisk goes to a political fundraiser, and it's funny to see him so out of his element because he's trying so hard to like keep his shit and everything.
Everyone is like, "You fucking suck. You are going to be out of office in one term. Like, no one's going to give a shit about you.
And you know what?
Still have all the power.
Fuck your port project, right in the port." And he's like, "I could really kill all the people in this room." Jack Duquesne has a little talk with him where he's like, "Bro, you need to learn. You need to learn to play this game because
you need to learn a little subtlety."
Yeah. So after the most recent Muse attack, Fisk forms that anti-vigilante thing, and it's all the Blue Lives Matter guys.
Yeah.
And yay, they don't have body cams because why would they ever need that? So Angela Del Toro investigates the abandoned train line where her uncle was like kind of like
there's some ominous footsteps towards her, and then it cuts away,
and she was kidnapped. And like, of course she was, because she's like 14 and perhaps 90 pounds.
Yeah.
So Matt gets a call from Angela's mom. Or aunt?
White Tiger's
wife. So it would be her aunt. Yeah. She's like, she's missing, and he's like, okay, I have this choice. I could call 911 and listen to me, I could go put on a fucking superhero suit and beat the shit out of somebody. And he sits there and he has for 5 seconds, has like a little crisis, like identity crisis. He's like, fuck it. I'm doing the suit.
Goes up to his closet, puts on the suit, goes running across the top of the building.
Looks a little CG. That's okay. That's fine.
Fisk goes down to visit his wife's boyfriend with an axe.
It was, by the way, his prisoner in a homemade jail cell.
Yeah. And like he tosses the axe in there and says, "Come at me, bro."
Yeah. He's like, if you can hit me with that axe,
I'll deserve it.
Leave. Yeah.
And fucker tries it, swings wildly, and Fisk just beats the shit out of him.
Okay. The way this is shot is brilliant. So first of all, Muse is like prepping Angela's body.
Yep.
Because he
injects her with some tranquilizer or something, I think, and then hooks her up to the blood sucking machine.
Yeah. So he hears a noise, and because where his lair is kind of like where the train goes by.
Yeah.
And he like sticks his head out after the train is like past, and he sees the red light, the brake lights, or the back lights, or whatever the fuck.
It's just fucking train.
But like, it's this really good shot where if you can squint, you can see a motherfucker running right at him.
It's fucking Daredevil sprinting full speed.
He does not give a fuck, and he throws himself right and just starts beating the shit out of this guy. And they keep interspersing between Fisk and Daredevil, who have both apparently been trying to ward off their own demons and try to be this other thing that they're not, and they both they both fail to escape what they are.
This is a major theme of the show to this point, that Fisk and Daredevil are very much alike.
Yeah,
that they're
two ends of the spectrum, but still way more alike.
Yeah. Like they're both trying to resist becoming this violent monster, but it's so much a part of their innermost selves that they can't escape it.
Right. And as a result, so Fisk, I think Adam at the end is still kind of like his fingers are still twitching. I'm not sure if he's dead yet.
I wasn't looking too closely, but I assumed Fisk killed him with his bare hands.
Yeah. Daredevil so by the way, Muse, not a bad fighter.
He's doing okay for himself. He gets some licks.
Yeah, he does a little flip kick, and Daredevil's like, "Oh fuck you," and like does a does a flip and shit. Yeah. So he
has him like,
oh, he's gonna hang
the
that
neck. He's gonna fucking hang him.
He was gonna hang Muse by the neck until dead.
Yes.
And he then noticed that Angela's like heartbeat was slowing down, and then they did this really stupid thing that I wish they'd stop doing in movies and TV. When someone is dying or they've become unresponsive, CPR does not bring them back. That is not what CPR is for. CPR is to perfuse organs while you're waiting for paramedics to get there. It is to move oxygen through the body so that they don't experience hypoxic brain injury while they're unresponsive. Mm-hmm. So when someone goes unresponsive, it's not like you hit them in the chest real hard and do CPR and they're like that girl needs a blood transfusion and IV fluids and life-saving medications. That's what brings her back from death. And I hate that they do this because I think people think that CPR is like this thing where like it'll bring you right back from death or something. And it's not. It's stupid. I know it's a stupid nitpick, but it's one of those things. But he does the CPR. Angela's fine. She wakes up and she's like, bro, you got a beard and you look a whole bunch like the guy I was just talking to earlier today.
Who wasn't doing shit.
Yeah. So they look over him. Muse has disappeared because he knocked his ass out. Yeah. And then he got away to fight another day. So, and that's the end.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed these two. This
has been a very fun show.
Yes. And you know what, that opening prologue in the first episode really hooked me in because it was really cool and it was really visceral and really violent. And at the end, Daredevil just drops a man off a building. Yeah. Like he just doesn't give a fuck.
Which is not something that we see from a lot of other heroes.
Right. Especially in the MCU where all the heroes and even the ones that have some demons or have some things they're working through. And the rest of the show after that has been fine. But then like these last two episodes, especially the one we just finished, Excessive Force, it was like, oh man, I will watch Matt Murdock beat the shit out of cops any day. Shit, like, ooh, I love it. All right, we're gonna go and play some Battlefront now with our buddies from Gremlin Squad. We hope you can make it. Come and say hi. We'll talk more about Daredevil or whatever the fuck else we want to talk about. It'll be fun. I might tell you about how much I've loved Assassin's Creed Shadows. So anyway, have a good day. Good night.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.